The body of the late Vice President Badra Diouf is expected to arrive in Banjul on Saturday. Stay tuned for the details. The Gambia government and the transport union have launched a new transport tariff across the country. And Egyptian authorities plan to expand the existing bread subsidy to accommodate more people. Well, this and more coming your way on The World Today. Hello, this is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching The World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. Now, following the passing of the country's vice president in New Delhi, India, his body is expected to arrive at the Banjul International Airport on Saturday evening and received by the Gambian forces, who would then escort the body to the Banjul mortuary at the country's main referral hospital in Banjul. A statement from the presidency has announced. Yahya Jammeh has the details in this report.
According to the statement, both the laying in state for the late VP Diouf and burial services will take place on Monday, 23rd January 2023. As the body is expected to arrive on Saturday, there will be a vigil at the mortuary until Monday morning, when the corpse will be moved to the National Assembly to lay in state for mourners to pay their last respect. From the lying in state, the casket will be transported to the Banjul Mosque for the Islamic Fiddah prayers before final interment at the local cemetery, where the late Vice President, His Excellency Badr Ali Diouf, will be laid to rest next to his mother's grave. Additionally, the government said the Gambia Police Force will provide additional security throughout the funeral process, including the regulation of vehicular traffic and management of congregation at the late VP Diouf's residence. In that regard, guests and the media are urged to be present at the National Assembly ground by 8:30 a.m., as the President is expected to be at the Assembly by 9:30 a.m. Until his death, Vice President Diouf serves as the country's number 2. He also served in various capacities, including Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, and Permanent Secretary in various ministries across the government. The late Ali Badr Diouf was the 4th Vice President under the Adama Barrow government, and he is the first Vice President in the history of the Gambia who passed away while serving the position. The late VP Diouf was survived by a wife and blessed with a family of several children. President Adama Barrow and the Gambian people continue mourning the late Vice President Diouf, who many describe as a patriot, an exemplary leader and true son of the land. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Meanwhile, President Adama Barrow on Thursday paid tribute to the late VP Diouf, describing him as not only a vice president but an able vice president who has contributed a lot to the development of the country. And the Gambian leader made the remark on Thursday during the opening of the Book of Condolence signing at the State House in Banjul. Yahya Jammeh again with the details in this report.
Gambians on Wednesday woke up to the news of the death of the country's Vice President Badr Ali Diouf, who passed away in Delhi, India after a brief illness aged 66. President Barrow has since declared a 7-day national mourning for the late Vice President, who many describe as an exemplary leader, a patriot and a true son of the nation. While leading the ceremony of the opening of the Book of Condolence at the State House on Thursday, in his first public statement since the demise of the country's number 2, President Alan Barrow described his vice president as someone who supported his agenda to develop the country. He said he will forever remember the late VP Diouf as a loyal somebody.
So Badr will be remembered as a very good man, as somebody who have contributed to the development of this country. We are together during the transition for these 5 years because of his competence and his contribution and his commitment and his loyalty That's why I appointed him as my vice president. Not vice president alone, but my able vice president, who was really supporting me. And the journey was for us to work together and develop this country.
According to President Barrow, he and his Vice President Diouf had promised to work together to change the lives of Gambians until 2026. But he, however, said that his VP could not live and fulfill that promise. Barrow takes the opportunity to urge his cabinet ministers to work towards fulfilling VP Diouf's ambition to impact the lives of the citizenry.
Because it was a promise that we will serve this country and we will impact the life of the people of this country for another 5 years. And that journey was started in 2022 to 2026. But unfortunately, he was not able to make it. But I will encourage my colleagues, cabinet members, for us to continue working together and make sure we fulfill the ambition that Badr had for this country.
In consolatory mood, the Gambian leader also described the death of his vice president as sad and untimely. He urges all to take his passing in good faith, accordingly mourned the late Vice President Diouf.
It is very, very sad. Very difficult to come to terms. It's very untimely. But we have faith, we have to accept it and move on. It's a mourning period. We want all the Gambian people to mourn Badr. And this is the first time a sitting vice president passed during active service. But it is destined that way. You cannot change destiny.
Until he was appointed VP on 4th May 2022, VP Diouf had served in various capacities, including Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, Permanent Secretary in various ministries across the government. According to the presidency, upon arrival, the body of the late Vice President will be laid in state at the National Assembly for a state funeral. The late Vice President Diouf was survived with a wife and blessed with family of several children. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Now moving on, Egyptian authorities are planning to expand their bread subsidy program to accommodate more people amid the prevailing economic hardship. Now, according to the country statistic agency, subsidies bread can be found in about 30,000 government-owned bakeries in the North African country, with over 70 million people benefiting. Now, the widely endorsed initiative comes with a heavy price on the government's budget. Let's have more details of that in this report.
For decades, the majority low-income earners in Egypt are given ration cards to buy monthly subsidized bread from state-owned bakeries at about 40% lower than the market price. According to the state-run statistics agency, subsidized bread in Egypt can be found in 30,000 state-owned bakeries around the country. The bakeries produce 275 million loaves a day, of which 70 million people of the country's 105 million population benefit from the subsidy. In a trial period run by the government, non-ration card owners are now allowed to benefit from this discounted bread as the government moves to protect the predominantly poor population from inflation hikes.
The bread here is really good, and I'm happy with the new decision because now we can buy cheaper bread at the same quality as the expensive one in private bakeries.
Bakeries are gearing up for high demand for the low-priced 90-gram loaf at about 30 cents a piece.
A bread card will be issued that allows an extra 30 million Egyptians to buy the discounted bread from the state-owned bakeries. The aim is to stabilize the bread prices in the market.
But these measures come at a cost on the state budget of the largest wheat importer in the world.
Total subsidy in Egypt in 2023 is estimated around 416 billion. Out of which the pure fuel, I think, would be around 25 to 30%.
An approximately $20 billion subsidy bill is too high for an economically stricken nation. prompting the government to take measures to cut down on expenditure.
They did put a new strategy, the periods of which are, number one, to increase self-sufficiency in a number of products, specifically when we talk about food products. Number two, to increase industrialization. And number three, to work very hard on increasing exports. And number four, of course, working substantially on increasing investments.
Officials say the priority at the moment is the welfare of the citizens.
And from the report in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, next to Uganda, where authorities have heightened security measures along the country's borderline with the Democratic Republic of Congo due to the growing tensions in the Central African nation. Now, despite the improved security surveillance, some rebels had managed to enter the country, thus warranting a more proactive move by the Ugandan security agencies. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The attack happened in Kasindi on the DRC border with Uganda. The ISIL-linked Allied Democratic Forces rebel group claimed responsibility. It operates mainly in the Eastern Corridor in DRC and the mountainous Rwenzori region in western Uganda. To avert any possible cross-border attacks, Ugandan authorities have tightened security in certain areas.
We've stopped the movement of cargo and passenger boats across Lake Albert and other water bodies along that stretch at night. And we've also intensified patrols in Ugoma Forest, which was being used as a point of infiltration.
Being here, my friend. The increased surveillance has extended to other districts in Uganda, including the capital. While Ugandan authorities say they have taken all measures to prevent any possible infiltrations, some rebels have managed to sneak into the country through porous border points, settling in major towns. Since December last year, security agencies have arrested more than 10 rebel suspects, including some as young as 12 and 14 years old. All are being linked to the Allied Democratic Forces.
There's no way we cannot see them. So my advice to them is get out and surrender either to the Congo army or to our units which are there, or it is easier to surrender to the UN.
Uganda remains on high alert. Jonathan Tabalanga, an international relations expert, says the periodic attacks have demonstrated the growing resilience of the mysterious rebel group.
The main reason as to why this problem never ends is because Congo has not been able to solve this problem by itself. And if it is seeking international assistance, it means then it is incapable of dealing with this problem.
Since 2021, the DRC government and Uganda have deployed troops to fight the ADF. But the M23, another rebel group, has since stepped up its operations too. Uganda has been accused of supporting the M23, which it denies. Members of the East African community plan to assemble troops to combat the armed groups.
The East African community can only try. I don't think it has the capacity to deal with these problems, because these problems, you're talking about 120 rebel groups, and some of them are tribal.
And that could mean a lasting solution remains elusive.
You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Eyeafrica TV, coming to you live from our studios in Banjul, and from the reporter in Uganda, Kampala. We now take a break and come back shortly. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Do you want an affordable yet exquisite home or service plot from TAP? Do not know how to go about it? Worry no more. Let me walk you through the process. 1. Book a viewing with us. 2. Agree on a payment plan you are comfortable with. 3. Fill out a reservation form. 4. Take your time to review ask questions, and when satisfied, you can proceed by signing our sale agreement. And 5, pay a deposit and sale is confirmed. From there, you can walk into your home and enjoy the real tough experience, or still be a proud owner of a service plot from us. It's that simple. Book a viewing today. For more information, please call 376-2333 or 776-2333.
Welcome back. This is Eyeafrica TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin coming to you live from our studios in Banjul. And once again, many thanks for joining us, and let's now look at the rest of the stories. Now, following a series of consultations with the Gambia government through the Minister of Transport, the Gambia General Transport Union, of course, has introduced a new transport tariff and across the country, effective Friday, 20th January 2023. The Transport Union leadership urges its members to register with the road licensing scheme, a system put in place to address double or triple fare charges commuters are usually faced with. Yahya Jammeh has the details in this report.
Before the arrival of the new tariff, the Gambia Transport Union had urged its members to be patient and allow them to finalize their negotiations with government on their demands, which include to increase the fares. The commercial drivers at the time were claiming that the prices of petrol had increased several times without transport fares being increased, thus threatening for an industrial action if their demands were not met. With the new transport fares coming into effect, the Gambia Transport Union is advising its members to register with the route licensing scheme and at the same time respect the terms and regulations commencing Friday, 20th January 2023. In a statement via its Facebook page, the General Transport Union indicates that the purpose of the routing scheme is to end the double fares nightmare faced by passengers to one destination. Against this backdrop, the union expects drivers to pick up passengers from fixed point A to point B to ease transport challenges in the country. According to the route scheme of the union, the pilot routes and destinations are as follows: Banjul to Westville Iceman, Banjul to Birkama and Birkama Garage, Banjul to Bakau, Bakau Garage, Banjul to Sarakunda, Sarakunda Garage, Westfield to Taboko to Abusi at Last Petrol Station, Westfield to Banjulunding Junction, Westfield to Birkama, Birkama Garage, and among other identified routes within the Greater Banjul area. In order to make sure of the full implementation of this routing scheme, the General Transport Union is calling on all garage heads and garage attendants to make sure drivers pick up and drop passengers at their final destinations. While the new introduced licensing route is expected to address the persistent nightmares commuters continue to face, many are wondering whether the new system will be fully implemented without involvement of the traffic police. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Yahya Jammeh.
Now, in other news, the United Nations peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo Wednesday said it has discovered mass graves containing the bodies of 42 civilians, including 12 women and 6 children, in a village called Nyamamba. Now, Moses Imendi has more details of that in this report.
The Democratic Republic of Congo has been riddled with chaos, massacres, and horrifying crimes against humanity since the M23 rebel group resumed its insurgents against the government for allegedly reneging on its agreement to integrate rebel fighters into the army. The fallout between the rebel group and the state resulted in tensions that have killed thousands of people and forced many others to flee the East African country in the last 12 months. Speaking to reporters in New York Wednesday, January 18, the spokesperson for the United Nations, Farhan Haq, reveals that UN peacekeepers have discovered mass graves in their Congolese villages of Nyamamba and Mogi in the eastern part of the country.
And we have some disturbing news from our peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, known as MONUSCO. Our colleagues there report that mass graves containing the bodies of 42 civilians, including 12 women and 6 children, have been discovered in the village of Nyamamba. Another grave with the bodies of 7 men was discovered in the village of Mbogi. Both locations are about 30 kilometers east of Bunia in the Ituri province. Peacekeepers launched a patrol to the area immediately after receiving reports of attacks on civilians by the Codeco militias over the weekend. This is when they made the gruesome discoveries. MONUSCO is supporting the Congolese judicial system to investigate the attacks and calls for the perpetrators to be brought to justice. These incidents occurred amid a significant deterioration of the security situation in Jugo and Mahagi territories. Since December 2022, the mission reports that at least 195 civilians have been killed and 68 injured, as well as 84 people abducted during several incidents attributed to Codeco and Zaire armed groups. The recent attacks have increased the number of displaced people to more than 1.5 million in Ituri and reduced access for humanitarians to those in need of assistance.
He explained that these discoveries occurred amidst a significant deterioration of security in Jugu and Mahagi territories. According to the United Nations peacekeeping mission MONUSCO, at least 195 civilians have been killed, 68 injured, and 84 other people are abducted during other related incidents attributed to armed groups. Tensions to escalate in the affected areas, leaving the local population in a constant fear for their safety. The long-standing conflict in various regions deepened paranoia and rage among the people, who have been calling for the withdrawal of the United Nations peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO, claiming that the peacekeeping mission lacks a genuine commitment to protect them from the attacks. For Eyeafrica News, I am Moses Imendi.
And from the report there by Moses Imendi, on to our final story now. Kenyan citizens, including commercial drivers, have welcomed the introduction of electric buses in the country's transport system. Like in many countries in Africa, Kenya's public transport faces numerous challenges to meet up commuters' demands. Now, vehicle operators in these African nations have also hailed the move, saying electric buses are more cost-effective. Here's more details of that in this report.
Transporting commuters in Kenya is a challenging and competitive business. Operating costs have increased in recent years following hikes in fuel prices. The chaotic informal public transport sector also heavily relies on minibuses known as matatus to transport millions of commuters daily. Minibuses and matatus in the country use diesel, which increases air pollution levels. That's why the few electric buses on the road have been warmly received by many. Bus operators and staff say the change was long overdue.
First, lazima tukubali.
We have to accept that times are changing. We can't remain behind. Africa has to embrace this change.
Daniel Mushai drives a diesel-powered matatu minibus. For over 10 years, he's driven similar vehicles along different routes in Kenya. He says switching to electric buses will be a smart and timely move.
The cost of fuel has really gone up, so we better change. I prefer the electric bus to these conventional engines.
For the operators, keeping an electric bus on the road is cheaper. It also has a carrying capacity of 77 passengers.
So on cost implications, if you compare an electric or diesel bus, so right now we are running at an efficiency of about 0.8 to 0.9 kilowatt hour.
At the World Future Energy Summit held in Abu Dhabi on Monday, sustainable energy solutions were high on the agenda.
The introduction of electric cars is really something very good, because when you look at a continent like Africa, which I can say we contribute about 4% of the global emissions, I can say one of the biggest contributors is transport sector.
Operators of electric buses in Kenya know they've just taken the first few steps in what is clearly a long journey towards a more sustainable transport system. It's a journey they're more than happy to embark on.
And that transport-related report here from the Kenyan capital Nairobi brings us to the end of this news edition. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can visit on our website on Eyeafrica.tv. The World Today News Bulletin will return on Monday. But on behalf of the entire production team, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and do have a pleasant weekend ahead. Bye for now.
Technology.